Happy birthday, Marines. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation and your National Museum of the Marine Corps, it is my privilege to welcome you here today in celebration of the 237th birthday of our Corps, and today, the 6th anniversary of the opening of our National Museum. We have some special guests with us today. Mayor and Mrs. Jerry Foreman. Jerry is the mayor of Dumfries. Major General Robert Walsh and his wife. Whalers, the Deputy CG here at the Marine Corps Combat Development Center. Major General George Cates, United States Marine Corps. Lieutenant General Norm Smith and his wife are here. Again, USMC. Mike Fiorello from Balfour Beatty. Mike was the project engineer for that construction company when this museum was built, and also a Marine combat veteran from Vietnam. And Mike Harper from Morgan Stanley. In addition to that, I have met, in the short time I've been here this morning, a couple of folks who traveled, one from Durham, North Carolina, another couple who traveled from West Virginia just to be at our museum today and be a part of our traditional cake cutting ceremony. I know there are many, many others that have traveled here, and I thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, as magnificent as this museum is, the history of our Corps, as you walk through these galleries today, functionally ends at the end of the Vietnam War. The Heritage Foundation is committed to completing this museum to honor those Marines who served after the Vietnam War. In places like Beirut, Grenada, Panama, Kosovo, of course, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Somalia, and now the young men and women, all volunteers, who have served in the Marine Corps for the last 11 years, the longest period of continuous combat in the history of our nation. We must tell their stories of service, sacrifice, honor, courage, and commitment, so that their memories and the memories of their families are rekindled with the same enormous pride as those of preceding generations. When the museum is finished, we will have two new galleries that will cover the period, the first gallery from 1976 through 9/11, and then from 9/11 through the present, as we continue this war on terror. We will also have a large changing gallery so that we can address topics that are of interest to us today. There will be a combat art gallery. There will be expanded classrooms and a school lunchroom for our education programs. And we will also have a giant screen theater, a 350-seat theater right over there, and a spectacular giant screen Marine-themed film. Clearly, we would not be where we are today without the generosity, loyalty, and commitment of Marines, other patriotic Americans, and U.S. corporations who see the importance of what we have here and what we're doing. This is an American history museum as seen through the eyes of Marines. The history of our Corps from the 10th of November 1775 through today parallels the history of our nation. And it is important that we continue to educate all Americans in not only the history of the Marine Corps and the virtues that we base our lives on, but also the history of our great nation. I'm truly honored to introduce to you now a fellow Marine, our guest of honor for our celebration of the 237th birthday of our Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Vice President of Human Resources and Administration for the Boeing Company and a member of the Boeing Executive Council, Mr. Rick Stevens.
General Blackman, thank you very much for your leadership as a great American, as a Marine, and here at the National Museum of the Marine Corps. It's an honor for me to be here today as a Native American, as a Marine, and represent the 175,000 men and women of the Boeing Company, who every day focus on creating and supporting products that connect people and help provide products and services that support our men and women in uniform each and every day. Whether going back to the P-51 and some great models, actually some great aircraft here, or what many know as the banana helicopter created by Piasecki, today being flown by the Marine Corps, the CH-46, or today, as we know, the F-18 and the V-22. While museums are great places to share and show history, knowledge, and discoveries that educate and inspire, the National Museum of the Marine Corps, in addition to sharing history, artifacts, educating, and inspiring those to visit, it honors the commitment, it honors the accomplishment and sacrifices of Marines, and helps them put in the context of the role that we all have as citizens, to teach, to share, so that our children, our friends, our family, and our neighbors know that freedom is not something to be taken for granted. It is something we must defend each and every day, the price described by honor, commitment, and courage. For me personally, it's great to be back in Quantico, having spent a memorable summer here in Quantico, where we had great opportunities for warm weather, exercise, outdoor hiking and camping, sufficient food, the opportunity to get close to wildlife, and of course, get very up close to ticks and chiggers. On my second visit, which is a little bit longer, it was the opportunity to learn about leadership, and it was also where my first son was born. But most importantly, the museum brings to life something Dad, a corporal in the Marine Corps, one of the chosen few who fought in the northernmost locations Marines were during the Korean War, but would never talk about, and that is the attack in the other direction in December of 1950. Dad passed away earlier this year, but like many Marines, he instilled the values, ethics, and commitment to family and country that is a model for all of us as Americans to follow today. Today, on the 237th birthday of our Corps, at the National Museum of Marine Corps continues to tell a story. It's a privilege to be at Boeing, and as this museum expands, to be able to make a multi-year, multi-million-dollar commitment to be able to support the helping of the creation of the new video that will help the Marine Corps tell its story up to the present. The focus of that commitment is to those past, present, and those who will serve in the future to continue the proud tradition of what today it means to be a Marine. We hope that this commitment helps all those who visit the museum better understand or appreciate our history, honor those who have served, inspire all of us to be better stewards of our freedom and our country. Thank you very much.
I think Mr. Stevens' extraordinary words represent all that we feel every day, and especially today on our birthday. As I mentioned before, this would not be possible without the generosity of Marines, patriotic Americans, and great U.S. companies like the Boeing Company. I can't thank you enough for that extraordinarily generous gift that will allow us to complete the story of the Marine Corps here with this spectacular giant screen film. Thank you. And perhaps... And how great is it that we have a Marine making that announcement here today? I have found in my short time here at the Heritage Foundation, they're everywhere. So be careful. The next part of today's program is our traditional cake cutting ceremony. As you know, our tradition is that the first piece of cake will be presented to our honored guest, and the second piece of cake to the oldest Marine present, and then that will be passed to the youngest to demonstrate that unbroken chain of honor, courage, and commitment, fighting spirit that has run from Tun Tavern on the 10th of November, 1775 through today. This year's oldest Marine is Captain Edward Debnam. He was born on the 25th of September, 1921. He's a World War II Marine who fought at Eniwetok, Guam, and Okinawa. Captain Debnam passes that piece of cake, he'll pass it to Lance Corporal Russell Pitts. Lance Corporal Pitts was born on the 7th of September, 1993. 72 years later. 72 years later. But what it does is it demonstrates that unbroken chain that we as Marines feel every day, and especially today. Lance Corporal Pitts is currently serving with HMH Heavy Helicopter Squadron 466.